Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today we're going to be diving in even deeper into the newly unveiled Division Resurgence. If you missed yesterday's big news, I will link the video in the upper corner right now so you can go check it out, but the Division Resurgence is the title of the long-awaited Division Mobile, and it is a much grander and more ambitious game than a lot of us ever thought it was going to be. And so while yesterday was a lot of reactions and surface-level info spreading around the community, today I wanted to come back and provide some more in-depth details and deep dives on a few key topics that many were left wondering about yesterday. This information comes from various sources like the game's Twitter account and the official website, and it provides a lot of clarity on a lot of different subjects that people were wanting more information on. The game's social media manager, at least the current one for the Twitter account, has been super active, providing a lot of great little bits of info and clarification, so that's really awesome to see. They also decided to follow me, so that's very appreciated. That's pretty cool, but anyway, hopefully this video will be helpful. I know after yesterday's announcement, I was instantly more excited for this game than I ever thought I could possibly be, and so this is really fun and exciting for me to do. Without further ado, though, let's hop in. Here's the breakdown on the Division Resurgence that you've been waiting for. Alright, so the first topic that I want to begin with is PvP. A lot of people have been wondering, is PvP going to be in the game? Now, for this topic and all the other ones that I want to cover, I have a few different just images that I'm going to put on screen. These range from different tweets that were put out to little captions that are on the website, and some of these things are repeats of themselves. You know, I think the social media manager, it's pretty clear that they have a pretty set script of what they're allowed to say right now, and so some of this stuff is very repetitive, but they, you know, you'll see what I mean. Some wording changes imply certain different things, but starting with PvP, somebody asked right here, what modes will come into this game, and they replied saying PvP modes will not be available during the closed alpha. However, all campaign missions, side missions, and open world activities will be playable in solo as well as co-op. So I guess the first thing that's interesting there is that apparently almost the entire game is going to be available in the alpha, or maybe that's not what they imply there, but it seemed a little bit ambiguous. But they didn't say PvP is not going to be in the game. They said PvP modes will not be available during the closed alpha. Now, that doesn't necessarily confirm, I suppose, that PvP is in the game, but it would be a stretch to then backtrack and say that it's not in the game at all after saying PvP modes will not be available during the closed alpha. So I think that is pretty interesting, and I think it pretty much hints towards the fact that PvP will probably be in the game. They have another one here that my friend Delta asked if there's going to be PvP, and they said PvP is not included in the upcoming alpha. However, you can play all story missions and open world missions, both solo and co-op. So again, a pretty similar answer. You kind of can see that they have a script that they're working off of. But again, PvP is not included. PvP modes will not be present. Sounds like PvP is actually going to be in the game, just not in this first closed test. So I don't know if that means that it's something they're still working on for launch, maybe post-launch. Either way, it seems like PvP will probably make its way into the Division Resurgence, and as a PvP person myself, that certainly makes me much more interested and very excited to see what shape that might take form in. Next up, I want to kind of tackle the general PvE side of the game. What story details do we know? What about the campaign do we know? What about the general world and content do we know? Starting with this thing on Twitter, somebody said, any new factions to know about, and the account replied saying, new storyline, factions, not just the one that they teased in the trailer, and much more coming in the future. Stay tuned. So I thought that was pretty interesting, especially the factions part. I mean, they say at the end of the trailer, you know, about the Freemen, and they're not alone. So I don't know if that implies that we're going to see factions that we know from the Division 1, from maybe even the Division 2. We don't know. I'm excited to find out, though. We already knew we were getting a new storyline with a campaign and whatnot. And so let's move on to some stuff that they had on their website, because I think that gives even more detail as to what we can expect. If we go to this one right here, you can see it says a vast open world with high quality graphics. So I know some people are still a bit confused or just straight up aren't believing that this is a game similar to the Division 1 and 2, but no, it has a full open world. I mean, a lot of the same places that we went to in the Division 1, and probably even more, as we saw them visiting Liberty Island in the winter, which we have never gotten to do in either the Division 1 or 2. So it says on here, and this is from their website, explore the open world in solo or co-op and play a variety of PvE activities, from story missions to world activities, roam around an outstandingly detailed urban environment with stunning graphics. And again, this is just awesome. Not in a million years would I have guessed that the Division Mobile would feature the same type of open world that we're seeing in the Division 1 and 2, but that's exactly what they are promising this to be. Of course, we will have to wait and see until we get our hands on the test and on the final game, but for now, again, way more than I was ever expecting, and I'm really excited to dive in to this Division 1.5 in a way. But we'll get to more of that in a minute. Let's move on to the next little bit here. This is also from their website. They say a whole new storyline, and this is very interesting for the actual story of the game. For newcomers and veterans, discover a new PvE campaign, be part of the legendary first wave of SHG agents, and get a unique perspective of the events around the Division 1 and 2. So, the first key thing there, we're gonna be part of the first wave. That's our agent. So each of the games has had us play a different agent. The Division 1 was obviously the second wave that came into Manhattan. Division 2, we start off as an agent that I don't believe we know the origins of, as far as whether they were first wave or second wave. But this Division Resurgence game is apparently going to have us playing as a first wave agent that did not go rogue during the initial events and lockdown of Manhattan, and we are now picking up after the events of the Division 1. There's been some confusion and speculation, from myself included, about when the story might indeed take place, but I think when you listen to the context of the trailer and everything they've said, it's pretty clear that this takes place after the Division 1, because they say, we fought for blah blah blah, we liberated Manhattan, all of this, and then they say, but the fight is not over yet. And then you're also seeing some elements from Division 2 come in, like the specializations, and I think that's how they might kind of canonically make it make sense, because we didn't have specializations in the Division 1, but if it's saying that we got those after the events of the Division 1, and then that carried into the Division 2 later, then that can all make sense, and I think this is just really setting up what this campaign and this story in this game is going to do. It's going to bridge some of the gap between the Division 1 and 2, take us back to the iconic location of, Manhattan and the Division 1 in wintertime, and that's kind of why it says here, I think, it says get a unique perspective of the events around the Division 1 and 2. I think it's going to maybe show events and characters that happened in the Division 1, tease stuff that will later happen in the Division 2 chronologically, as we've already experienced, and this will kind of bridge the gap of what happened in Manhattan in the meantime. I think it'd be pretty cool if at one point we could see the storm, would it be a hurricane? I'm trying to think of which one is on the east, but that ravaged lower Manhattan that we see in the Warlords of New York area, that'd be a pretty cool event to see happen at some point in Resurgence's storyline. I don't know if we'll get that, but this all seems really cool, and, the Division 1.5, who would have thought that that's what mobile would be? But it's really cool that we're kind of going back to such an iconic period of time, and I'm really excited to see how that's going to pan out. The next thing I want to briefly touch on is builds and just your loadout in general. How is all that going to work? Well, as you can see by this picture, which is something I alluded to but wasn't able to show in the video yesterday, or I think it's in the trailer, but we are going to have the same type of loot and builds that we have in the Division 1 and 2. As you can see right here, the agent has 2 primary weapons, 6 gear pieces. They have all mod slots on them, so they're kind of reverting that back from the Division 2. There's a breakdown of their, kind of firearms and toughness and skill power like we had in the Division 1, but it uses that kind of circle thing as we saw in the Division 2 up in the upper left. So again, this really seems like they're blending the best of the Division 1 and the Division 2 into this mobile experience for a lot of new people to check out. And I think if it's done right, and if they really do take the best aspects of both games, that could really leave a great impression on these new people coming to the franchise and make them want to invest further into the Division. I think that's a really awesome thing. I'm excited to see how deep the customization and RPG is going to go in this game. Are you going to have talents the same as the Division 1 and 2? Are there going to be stats in the same way, or is it a little bit more limited? I would think more limited, but again, I also didn't expect there to be an open world in this game, so we will really have to wait and see, but seeing this alone already makes me more excited, and I really can't wait to see where it's going to go next. We also then have a bit of a thing on their website where they said choose your specialization to fit your own playstyle. So again, specialization weapons and specializations in general are going to be in the Division Resurgence as opposed to the Division 1, obviously. Level up and improve your skills to unlock new signature weapons and unique gadgets. Switch specialization to change your role anytime, to try new abilities and find the best synergy with your friends. So what I think this might be referring to, if you think back to what that build panel looked like, there weren't any skills on that inventory screen, and that's, in comparison to the Division 1 and 2, where skills were very much a part of your loadout and you could switch them at any time. What I think this might be implying is that picking your specialization will dictate which 1 to 2 or 3 skills you have access to. And I think that would make a bit more sense, again, for the mobile platform, for it to be a bit more simplified. I think that would make more sense than having everything be completely open-ended. I don't know, though. That's just my own guess from their wording. Things are quite ambiguous at this point, so we will have to wait and see. But I think that nod is very interesting, and I'm excited to see if specializations have any big changes from them compared to their implementation in the Division 2. We know they're getting reworked at some point in year 4 or year 5. And so it'd be interesting to see if Resurgence is going to take that leap or kind of stick to the formula. We don't know at this point, but it'll be very interesting to see, and I can't wait to find out. All right, and then the last topic that I wanted to touch on here is one that pretty much everybody has wanted to know about, and that is the monetization in the game. Mobile games don't have the best track record as far as non-predatory monetization goes. The most recent example that a lot of people have already pointed to with this game is Diablo Immortal, which was a recent mobile game that came out that completely and utterly was based around making money. you could spend money to, I mean, I haven't played it, so I don't know for sure, but you can increase your progress. You can buy, shortcuts to stuff. You can buy power. Basically, the worst type of pay to win you can imagine. Everybody was worried that that is what the Division Resurgence was going to be. Well, at least according to their wording right now, that's not going to be the case. You can see right here, somebody asked them yesterday, will it be pay to win or microtransactions will be cosmetic only? And they replied saying the Division Resurgence will be free to play with players being able to purchase cosmetic items to personalize their experience further. Now, that does not come out and say we will not have any pay to win features, so I don't think we can write that off, and I think it's something we should remain skeptical about and see once the test and the final game go live. But at least right now, if they stick to their guns and stick to actually that being the plan, that's really great to hear. At the end of the day, video games are still a business. The only reason they get made is so that the people who make them and the corporations can make money. That's just how life works. But there's a way to do that without completely ripping off and being predatory towards your player base. And I think cosmetic-only microtransactions in a game is one way to do that. If they want to load that store full of the most outlandish and as many cosmetics as they want to do, go for it. As long as it doesn't affect gameplay, I personally do not have a problem with that. And again, there's a precedent for mobile gaming doing that, so I guess if they do implement that stuff, we'll just have to see how it is implemented. But if it's going to be some sort of shared open world experience, then I hope it does remain cosmetic only, because you kind of want to retain that fairness amongst players. So we will have to see, but for all those people who are curious, at least right now, the word from the Division Resurgence team is that monetization and microtransactions in the game will be cosmetic only. And I think if that does end up being the case, that's going to be very positive for the game's overall reception. And I think it could really help it out as far as popularity and longevity. And there you have it, guys. Those are some of the more juicy details and more in-depth information we have at this time about the Division Resurgence. The more I hear about this game, the more impressed I am, honestly. I did not have this high of hopes for a mobile game. Of course, we're going to have to wait until the closed test or for more official information to truly make informed conclusions, but things are looking good, and I'm honestly looking forward to seeing what's revealed next. Again, I'm still just kind of mind blown that this happened in the first place. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know what you think about some of these new details. What do you think about PvP in the game? Does your wording leave you to believe that it will indeed be in the game at some point, either at launch or post-launch? What do you think about the story setup that we're going to be playing first wave agents after the events of the Division 1? That seems pretty cool to me. And what do you think about the microtransaction implementation in the game? Are they going to actually stick to it being cosmetic only? Will they fall prey to kind of the industry standard of making a lot more pay to win? I think it could go either way, but I'm certainly hoping for the former. Either way, a lot of these details are making me even more anxious to try out the game. I'm hoping I get into the closed testing because I really am curious to see how this is all going to come together. But at least at this point, the Division Resurgence is looking quite solid, and I'm really excited to see what comes next. That's about all I have for today, everybody. A lot more videos coming up about Resurgence and the Division 2. We got a lot more stuff to talk about that we didn't get to earlier this week, so stay tuned here on the channel. But that is all I have for today, everybody. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.